The etymological root of the word black comes from the word bleak.
Bleak.
Yes, in
Wow.
Old English. And bleak means bleached and pale.
Bleached and pale.
Yes, it basically means white.
Really?
Yes,
So black means white.
yes.
Oh my God. This is a high level conversation. Really?
So, yes, so people often underestimate the power of music, the power of sound. So I was explaining to you earlier that, we know already when it comes to music that there's certain keys that we play that can make you happy or that can make you sad.
Right.
So that goes to show that music influences you and it has an effect on you. Now, to take it a step further, in terms of the frequencies, we know that from science that we're all made up of atoms and molecules that are all vibrating
yeah.
at a certain frequency. And music itself is also vibrating at a certain frequency. So depending on what frequency the music is vibrating at is going to determine the type of effect that it has on you. So now we're going to go to another point of it. When it comes to lyrics now, lyrics and words, people underestimate the power of words. Each word that we speak, when we utter a word, again, we're going back to vibrations. It has a specific vibration. And that vibration is going to have a specific effect on matter, on what's around it. So if we are not aware of what the word that we're saying, what its vibrational definition is, then we don't actually know what we're saying. Because that means that vibrationally, what I'm saying to you is going to have an effect on you, whether you're aware of it or not. And so when it comes now to music and all of these different things, mainstream music, the lyrics and all of that, there's multiple levels on the way that it affects you. One is going to affect you because of the picture that it paints in your mind. So automatically, just by listening to something, that can take you to a negative place or it can take you to a positive place.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So you want to be listening to things and consuming things that are taking you to the places that you want to go. And if you're looking at your life and you're wondering, okay, well, why is certain things happening to me? Why is this, that, and the other? It's probably because you are allowing yourself to be taken away by certain things.
So those listening to Where Are You Now?
It all has a subtle effect. But I want to get back again to the words specifically and the vibrations. Now, this is a little bit off topic of music, but I think it's very important for us as a people.
Right.
So when you study etymology, etymology is the root of a word. So the original meaning of a word and where a word comes from. Okay? The reason why the etymology of a word is important is because usually when you get to the root meaning of a word, you get also the vibrational definition of that word. So when you know what the vibrational definition of the word is, you actually know what you're saying. Now, when it comes to us as a people, the word that is often used to denote us as a people is black.
Black, yeah.
The etymological root of the word black comes from the word bleak.
Bleak.
Yes, in
Wow.
Old English. And bleak means bleached and pale.
Bleached and pale.
Yes, it basically means white.
Really?
Yes.
So black means white.
Yes.
Oh my God. This is a high level conversation. Really?
So yes. So this is the thing. If you go and you look in and look up the root meaning of the word black,
Wow.
it comes from the word bleak, which means bleached and pale. And now I'm going to take it a step further with that particular word. I speak both English and French, right? The word for white in French is blanc.
Blanc.
That starts with a B. right? That sounds more like black
Mm.
than white,
Yeah.
for example. When you go to the word for black now in many different languages. So we have French. The word for black is noir.
Noir.
Yes.
Okay.
In Spanish, it's negro. This, which sounds similar.
Yeah, like Negro.
Yes.
Okay.
In Italian, I'm not 100% certain, but I think it's nero. Now, you go for the word white in Spanish, blanco, which again kind of
Black.
sounds like black, or
Right.
blanche
Yes.
sorry,
Dutch. Wait.
we in French.
French.
In
Yeah,
French.
yeah.
So the thing is that you see that there's a juxtaposition there, that definitely the word black does not necessarily mean black as a color. And they have us now continually calling ourselves black. But we're not black. We're definitely not black.
Wow.
And you when you go back to, when you try to trace the history of when this started, there's kind of a little bit of a disambiguity, and it's kind of hard to kind of trace it. But the one thing that's for sure, that before a certain time, we definitely were not known as black people. We were known as many other things, but we were not known.
So when did that
as
start?
Black people. I don't know. I don't know the exact time of when that started, but definitely it started. It's not even that long ago. It's not that long ago. It's probably less than 200 years ago.
Does that make
started.
us think less of ourselves, though?
I believe that, like I was explaining before, that the vibrational charge of that word, it puts us in a certain state, in a certain state of mind, and a certain energy. And a lot of the issues that we face as a people has to do with the fact that we do not have a word that unifies all of us, and that really defines us. And we continually choose, or have been programmed, I don't even say choose, we've been programmed to use the word black as that word that defines us.
Wow.
But that is, by definition, not our definition.
Well, let's talk about the means they use in programming. Music is definitely one part of it.
Yes.
What other means do you think has been used over the years to program even black people, and still uses that to this day?
Well, I mean, there's anything that is in our society that you see repetitively is a means of programming. I mean, when you watch TV, they call it a television program. When you listen to the radio, it's a radio program. They're literally telling you that it's a program. When we go to school, that is a form of
School program.
of a school program. When you go to a religious program, that is a form of programming. Everything in this society is a form of programming. I mean, which is normal because we assimilate information. So in order for us to be able to function, we have to take in certain programmings. Where the issue comes is, are the programmings for our benefit or are they for our destruction? And what I find is that a lot of the formal programs that we have around us are more for our destruction than they are for our benefit.
Wow.
And that is the thing. And we need to be able to identify what is it that is for our progress and what is for our destruction. And then going back to music, a lot of the music now is spreading programs that are for our destruction. And when we hear certain things over and over and over again, like a lot of the themes in music are about, like we said, violence. So when you hear violent themes over and over and over again, you may not become an overtly violent person, but it definitely is going to have an effect on your psyche. If you hear certain themes about degrading women, and being a certain way in relationships, it's going to impact the type of relationships that you're in, the way that you're thinking when you're in a relationship.
Wow.
If you don't hear things about our history and things about higher level thinking, the way that you know, like a high level conversation.
Right.
If you're stuck at a low level of information that's coming to you, and it's coming to you over and over and over again, like the way on Top 40 radio, for example, they cycle the same 40 songs throughout the whole day.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And they add in 1 or 2 songs every week. So if you're hearing the same monotonous things over and over and over again, it has an effect on you. And I'm going to add in this. When we look at, particularly now I'm going to talk about hip hop. Hip hop music, which is a lyrical form over a beat. But what's happened to hip hop music, and it's not to knock the artists of today, because there are a lot of great, talented artists of today. But when we look at the music that is in the mainstream right now, and that has been in the mainstream over the past few years, when we look at the lyrical content of that music, and now I'm not talking about the themes, now I'm talking about the IQ level that it takes, or the intelligence level that it takes to create this music. It's not a very high intelligence level, because people are mumbling, people
I agree with you. Music like WAP, it definitely does not take a lot of IQ.
But this but no, it's okay, it's cool, it's cool. But what I'm saying is that, you know, it's that the music has reached a point where it's dumbed down. It sounds like a nursery rhyme. It's and when you hear that over and over again, it does not fuel your mind for growth. It's going to keep you at the level of what you're hearing over and over and over again. Whereas if you hear now somebody performing complex metaphors and similes and throwing in you know, certain words that you may not know and different things, that's also going to fuel you to grow as a person. But if you're hearing a dumbed down version of things over and over and over again, that also limits your growth, because it's what you're consuming, it's what's in your reality.
Wow.
And these are the things that people don't like to touch, because oftentimes what comes up is like, oh, but people need to be able to express themselves, or it's what the youth are into today. And I'm like, but why are the youth into this today? And why are they expressing themselves in this way? Like a lot of young rappers I hear today, they'll be like, oh, I'm not lyrical. And I'm like, but why would you not want to be lyrical? I understand, you know, having that relaxed flow and you know, going with a certain energy and a certain vibe. But why does that become the only thing? You know, both sides need to be there. You should be able to do that, and you should be able to do the lyrical side as well, because it's balance, right? And what's happening today, there is no real balance, and that is one of the main issues.
Wow. So when you see a music video made by Lil Nas X with the demon and stuff like that, and you being a a DJ and who plays music a lot of times, will you be able to play music like that for your audience, knowing the meaning behind it? It's a tough one, but I really want to know, because
the thing is, it depends on the context that I'm in. If I'm playing for a crowd that I know that that's what they're into, I will play it for them. But there's certain things that if I have the chance not to play, I won't play. If I can stay away from it, I'll stay away from it, because I know the effect that it has and on them, even if they don't know the effect that it has on them. But in other contexts, like if I'm the one that's 100% in charge of the program, so to speak, I'm gonna try to select tunes that are still relevant to what's going on today, and I'll play new music and I'll play older music, but I try to select things that have a more uplifting vibe, that are feeding people something conscious, you know, and that's the way that I approach it. But I'm not closed to the other stuff, because I mean that's the reality, and that especially when it comes to the youth, that's what a lot of the youth are into. And one of the things is that I want to reach the youth. I want to connect with them. You know, one of the things that I've been doing over the past few years is trying to understand, okay, why is it that they are gravitating towards this type of music? What is it about it? What is it about the beat patterns or the lyrics or the whatever that has them gravitating to this, so that then I can recreate something that is similar to that, but that feeds them good energy, as opposed to feeding them this destructive
So
energy.
when we talk about, you know, knowing thyself and knowing who you are as a black person, who are some musicians you would recommend to the audience to listen to, and some music that you'd recommend to listen to for people, you know, to really know themselves? I had someone on the show who said Akon, Mama Africa, really contributed to him coming to the continent and waking him up and coming to Africa. So what would be another music that you think people out there in the diaspora should listen to, kind of help them really know thyself and stuff like that?
I would say, first and foremost, the first artist that you mentioned, he was huge here in Ghana,
Ghana,
is Bob Marley.
Bob Marley, yeah.
Because his music, you know, transcends space and time. If you're talking now, let's say like a hip hop artist, I would say Nas.
Nas.
Yes. Okay. Nas has a lot of music that speaks on a lot of topics that you know, cause you to think. And he even talks about, you know, coming here to Ghana and different things like that. Who else? A contemporary artist that I liked his message a lot. His name escapes me now. I see his face, but I can't.
While you're remembering that,
yes,
Kanye has been talking about.
Oh man, yes, I'm happy you brought up Kanye.
His music has been a little different lately, but you know, he's now preaching more about knowing thyself and understanding your vibration and you know, realizing that the programming happening around you and stuff like that. He didn't preach most of that on his music, but now he's preaching that in the mainstream and stuff like that. Let's talk about Kanye.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Yes, yes, go ahead.
So, will you recommend anybody to listen to Kanye's music, regardless of the bad press he's had and this controversial stuff? And
Kanye is an interesting character when it comes to music, because when you listen to his early albums, especially when it comes to the topic of black people within the system, he's always been pro-black. And he makes certain comments in his songs pointing out a lot of the hypocrisy and a lot of the issues within the black community. But then on the other side, he makes music that is just like, you know, like he came out with a song not so long ago. I love it. And the chorus of that song, the first time I heard it, I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
And I remember this is one of the songs where I'm like, okay, let me play it just to see how people are going to react to it. And when I played it, everybody in the club is screaming it out.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, well, this is where people are at. I accept it. But so Kanye is kind of on both sides of the extreme, because he does have a lot of great music that can inspire you and forces you to look at things in a different way. In terms of, you know, what's been happening to him in the news and in the press lately, I don't know what the full story is behind it, but I do know that he has shared a lot of things that are in alignment with a lot of what I've just said. Like I saw an interview with Kanye where he was talking about the 808, which is a drum sound from a drum machine, a heavy bass sound, and that 808 sound, he says that it's been pitched differently, so they changed the vibrational frequency of it, so that it has a negative effect. And
wow, really?
Yes. So the thing is that, you know, when we look at people, celebrities, particularly, you know, we're talking about Kanye, I definitely don't think that he is as crazy as people, you know, make him out to be, in terms of the way that they portray him in the media. I think he's a very intelligent individual. I think that he does have his own personal issues as well, but at the same time, he is trying to also show us some of the things out there that we need to be aware of, that have been used against us and that are continually used against us. And that's one of the reasons why they kind of spin and make him look like he's crazy, or even the whole anti-Semitic thing and all of that. So
yeah. I wanted to say something else, but that would get this video demonetized about Kanye, so I would keep that to myself.
You know what's interesting about what you're just saying
Yeah.
is that, and this is an issue that we're having, is overall, and this just proves some of certain people will call it conspiracy theories,
Right.
is that right now we're limited with our free speech. There's certain things that we cannot come and say.
Yeah.
And that is an issue. Now, on one hand, I get it, because we don't with the openness of the technology right now, you can get some radical people that will come out and influence people in the completely wrong way.
Right.
So I get that we need to have a sense of control. But then on the other hand, there's things that I have seen that have been taken down that were not necessarily radical or whatever. It's just going against the mainstream narrative.
Yes.
And those things are being removed. So that just goes to show that there's somebody out there that is trying to protect that mainstream narrative and does not want it to deviate.
Very true.
And that is a major issue, and people need to be aware of that.
Yeah. Now, it's very true. You need to be aware of that, in a sense that the word black is not necessarily even black. It's white, in a sense.
Yes.
And then when Kanye said white lives matter, it might be.
I don't know what Kanye's reason was for saying that, but I mean, I've come across people who say that we should actually identify as white. And the reason being so is that when you're ticking, let's say you're doing some kind of survey or whatever, it asks you what nationality, ethnicity you are, and you have a choice. You don't have to choose. You don't have to choose black. And according to some people, when it comes by law, when you choose the word black, you are ridding yourself of certain rights. And again, they explain that to be one of the reasons why we find ourselves to be in the position that we are in.
Wow.
Because
we chose to be.
Because we're choosing to be black, which really has no standing at law.
Wow.
So, but I mean, that's like,
Guys,
that's another
high level
level
conversation.
That's another level of things,
Yeah.
right? But you know, to kind of wrap up and to sum everything together, the thing is that you need to be aware of who you are. You need to be able to look deep into yourself, listen to your inner voice. We all have a moral guidance system within us, regardless of what we believe in. And we know right from wrong. And we need to follow the things. And even if you don't want to put it in the case of right from wrong, are you doing things that are benefiting you and the people around you? Or are you doing things that are destructive to you and to the people around you? And if you just follow that, and as you go through life, it will make tremendous changes. Now, you don't have to get like me and research and study and all of these things, even though it's good, because you need to have a sense of where certain things come from to know where things are going. But at a fundamental level, just know what it is that you are about, and know that you are powerful, know that you are worthy, and know that your presence here on this planet matters, and that we all come here for a specific mission and a specific purpose.
I like that. Now, I'm about to ask you a question. Don't answer. Do you believe in aliens?
Yeah, so what I was saying is Serius, when I chose the name, and also my logo, I just chose what felt right to me in that moment. But upon coming in contact with certain information, I realized that there's a planetary system where the sun of that planetary system is Serius.
Really?
And there's Serius A,
Serious B,
and Serious B,
yeah.
right? And I didn't know anything about that. So on the spiritual side of things, a lot of people say that the beings that are here on Earth now are from the star system Sirius.
Serious, yeah.
So there's a connection to Sirius
Serious.
and spirituality. And furthermore, so the interesting thing about Sirius is that Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky, and it has an orbiting planet around it called Sirius B, and so Sirius B.
That's the one that can sustain life, isn't it?
I'm not 100%
Okay, I
certain.
heard that too.
So now, let's tie this into Africa. They say that the Dogon people, they had knowledge of the star system Sirius A and Sirius B, which the Western scientists.
Here we call it Dagomba, okay? So Dagomba is how we call it. Go ahead.
All right, I'm happy you said that. So the Western scientists have only found about Sirius A and Sirius B recently, but when you look at some of the paintings by the Dogon or Dagomba,
yeah.
they have paintings of this on the wall that date back from hundreds of years ago. So they already had this knowledge. And when you study the Dogon people now, they are deeply spiritual people, and they have some heavy spiritual traditions.
Almost like yeah. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? No, go ahead. No, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, yeah. Go ahead with the spiritual, because I think honestly, spirituality is like science is a basic of spirituality.
Well, one of the guys that have opened my eyes to a lot of this. His name is his original name, or his past name was Booker T. Coleman, but he also goes by the name of Brother Kaba Kamene. I came across him through a documentary called Hidden Colors. So he was the one that was sharing a lot of this information. And one of the things that he says is that science is seen spirituality, and spirituality is unseen science.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
So that just to make that, put those two things together. Now further for me, so I feel that I have a connection with Serious because I chose that as my name. Now the second thing is in my logo. I was always attracted to the yin yang sign. So my logo is a circle with an S, and one side there's the white and the black, representing the yin yang, which to me at the time just represented balance. But later on, again, going through my spiritual journey, I started to learn about sacred geometry. Now, sacred geometry has to do with the flower of life and a lot of different shapes, the circles, and one of the main symbols in sacred geometry is that yin yang sign. And so the yin yang sign represents the spiral pattern. So you see one side you see the let's say the white half with the black dot. If you were to take a vortex of water spinning, it looks the same as that shape. Or if you were to take the shell of a snail, it looks the same as that shape. Now, what I've come to understand, and this ties into music and other things as well, is that the way that this world, this universe, whatever you want to call it, that we live in, there are cyclical patterns in everything.
Yeah.
And when
bananas, fruits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you start to align yourself and understand and are able to see these patterns, you get a better understanding of how the world around you works. And everything works on these different patterns. And these patterns now are created by certain vibrations. So we get back again, to the vibrational aspect of it. So, spirituality now plays an important role in terms of knowing who we are as a people. Now, some people, when they use the word spiritual, they talk about the spiral, right? And the fact that we're going around
The planet.
this well, you can say the planet, but just in terms of our experience, we're going through this spiral.
Spiral, yeah.
And again, you see those patterns in sacred geometry, in the flowers, in the plants, in the trees, in storms,
Yeah.
in different things.
In space.
In space. So
It's all connected.
it's
isn't
everything is connected.
When we say high level conversation like this to people, I've had conversation with a lot of ethnicities, but those who mostly reject this type of conversation are my own people, black people. They almost like they get paranoid and scared to dive into high level conversation like what we're having here. Why do you think that is though?
Because I think that we've again been programmed. We've been indoctrinated away from this type of information. And when it comes to religion, a lot of people say when you start delving into this thing, they'll say it's devil worship, it's evil, it's bad basically. And a lot of our traditions as Africans, voodoo for example, people relegate that to as black magic. Anything black has been put next to negativity. But the thing is, when it comes down to it, because we mentioned the word negative, we don't understand a lot of the words that we speak. Okay, the word negative, to negate, means there's no gates.
No gates.
No gates. That means that there's things are free and moving. Things are free to enter. Things are free to leave. The word,
isn't that a good thing? Okay,
this is kind of what I'm getting at,
Okay.
right? The word positive, right? It means to pose. It means that things are static. It means things are still, right?
Wow.
So when we talk about the word negative, it does not necessarily mean that something is bad. Right? It just means that anything is free to enter. Anything, there's no order. It can be chaotic when things are negative. When we talk about positive, it means that something is fixed. So whatever it is that you're talking about, that's the thing that you're talking about. That's not moving. It's not wavering. And now, when we take it in the context of something being good or bad, being positive can be bad as well, just as being negative can be good. It depends on the context of what you're talking about. So,
I mean, for sure, pregnancy test.
well, that's it.
I would like to see positive.
But that's it. But I mean, but that again can be negative. But it's funny that you say that, because depending on what you're looking for at the time, that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing.
Very true.
So yes. But you see, the thing is that we are so programmed in terms of the education that we get, that we don't look outside of the box and we don't look deeper into things. We are taught to take things at face value without actually knowing, digesting and understanding it at its core, at its fundamental level. And when you start to understand the world and look at things at its fundamental level, you get a completely different perspective.
Sure.
Completely different perspective. And so I believe that the true spiritual process is to get us to be able to relate to the world at its fundamental level, so that we can be clear. We are not just taking things at face value. We're able to connect and understand how to connect with things on a deeper level, so that we can then use that to benefit ourselves, to benefit people around us, and to benefit the space in general. What I think the issue is, where we find ourselves today, is that there are those who have come in contact with certain information and realize the power of the information, but they're only using that information to benefit themselves and to uplift themselves, and they use the information to suppress other people, particularly black people, because we are, I believe, the custodians of this information, and a lot of it originally came from us. And I think that the reason why we find ourselves in the position that we are in today is because the ones who got the information from us and now use it against us are afraid that if we get this information, that either one, we're going to take revenge on them, or even further than that, that they're going to cease to exist completely. Because originally, according to history and according to archaeology and all of these things, we are the original people on the planet, and everybody else came after.
Right. It's very obvious, right? When the sun is too hot, you will see those who don't belong here. I'm just don't cancel me, okay? We are learning, okay?
Yeah, no, but that's it. And you know, it's a shame that you have to say it like that. Like, don't cancel me. Just to have
my own opinion, right?
You know, just to have this type of conversation, to open people's awareness, to open people's consciousness, to open people's minds. Because at the end of the day, I think that if information were disseminated in the way that it should be disseminated, that the entire earth would benefit from it. But right now we're living in a space and time where a lot of people are oppressed, a lot of people are suppressed. But it goes beyond censorship, because I mean, it's only about 2 billion of the world's population that even have access to the internet and to this type of video that we're doing right now. What about the other 5 billion people on the planet? You know, what the way that I see it is that a lot of people are being purposely kept away from certain knowledge, because it would completely rearrange how things are on the planet today.
Very true.
If people were able to have the knowledge, be exposed to certain things.
We can talk about energy and why even, you know, there's a scientist, I mean, it's this normal African guy who started deriving energy from nowhere.
Yes.
And then quickly he disappeared or got sick or died or whatever. And anyone who have, you know, stood up to use different kind of, you know, archives, knowledge to invent something has always been taken, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and just to hide, you know,
anything that challenges the status quo. You know, my father used to talk to me about a lot. Well, he's still alive, and I hope one day to help him fulfill this dream of creating a magnetic motor.
Wow.
So basically a motor that runs purely on permanent magnets. So you wouldn't need electricity from outside to power this.
Wow.
Now, I've come across some information that said that somebody actually has created this and went in the US to patent it. Now, this, I don't have direct sources. I don't even know if this is 100% true, but I'm just sharing this. But they went to patent it and discovered that the patent already existed.
Wow.
So that they already know how to do this. But it's just that because, again, it would throw off the current structure in terms of, you know, we're dependent on oil. We're moving into solar and different things. But it would turn over the current power structure if things like this were able to get out. So, you know, I really believe that you know, there's a lot of people that have knowledge out there and that know of things beyond what it is that we have here today, but it's being kept. And just from my own critical analysis and my own critical thinking, in some cases I understand why certain knowledge would be kept, because if it gets into the wrong hands or it gets into to the people at the wrong time, it can be catastrophic.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think that it's also being kept to keep people at a certain level of consciousness and a certain level of awareness.
I like that. Now, when you come to Africa, we do have superstitions. Because I've not seen with my eyes, but we do have people who can literally pay you a visit if in the US without using the airplane. And then, you know, and we've had stories growing up that there are these people who can literally turn into animals, you know,
Yes.
and then just fly away like birds. Again, it's not just Ghana. Benin, when you do your own due diligence, this story has existed throughout the whole Africa on the continent. Recently, there was a voodoo festival in Benin where there was a whole marathon. I hope I find a video somewhere. And it's literally, you know, going around in circles, but there's nobody inside. You know, when people watch this, you know, do you believe it or what comes to mind? Do you think it's some, you know, tricks going on like the, you know, card tricks, or it's not true, or it's actually a very scientific and powerful thing going on?
The thing is that for the specific, you know, video that you're talking about, I can't say if it's real or if it's fake, but I do believe that it is possible. And when you just break things down to its fundamental level, that everything is vibration.
Yes.
And I've had personal experiences where I've been able to see the future. I've been able to tap in to certain things that were to come.
Good.
So from my personal experience and also just knowing certain things without having that information being communicated to me directly. So I believe that there is an underlying force that drives us, and we are all interconnected beyond just our five senses.
It's true.
So now when it comes to animating an inanimate object, I believe that is possible. When it comes to a person, you know, shifting into an animal or something like that, I also believe that is possible. Do I know how to do it? Have I seen somebody do it? No.
No.
But the thing is, when you just understand things from its foundational level, it's not that far-fetched. When we get back to the conversation of vibration and the fact that we are atoms and molecules that are held together at a certain vibration, if you know how to break that vibrational frequency and redirect the energy, why can't you do something like that?
Yeah. Guys, if you're watching this is a high-level conversation. Disclaimer, if you're not processing what we're saying, you have all the rights to check out. But if you're enjoying it, you can relate with what conversation we're having here. Comment down below, let's get a conversation going on. You know, this is about our higher self and understanding who you are as a human being and understanding energy and vibration. So we've had, trust me, this conversation is high level.
Yes.
You know, and we need to have more of this conversation.
No, we definitely do. And I mean, I just wanna you know get my thoughts gathered correctly. The thing is that one thing I'll go out there and say, you know, we are powerful beyond measure. But you really need to understand why I say that. And the reason why I say that is because we are connected to everything.
True.
And when you're able to quiet your mind and connect to the things that are around you, people, places, and things, there's certain things that just come to you. And you know, a lot of artists will say, I was watching, I actually shared it recently on Instagram, a post from Nipsey Hussle.
Okay, yeah.
And
He was good, right?
Yes. Okay. He's another artist that you should go and listen to, and listen to his lectures and stuff like that. But that music is spiritual. That when you get down to it, and once you've been doing it for a certain time, music is spiritual. Because where really do those lyrics come from? Where does that melody come from?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not really that you're creating it. It kind of comes to you, and it comes through you. So we are connected to everything.
It's almost like there's a archive somewhere and then you just reached out to it and then
Yeah, you can, you can, you can, you know.
It is very true though,
Mhm.
because I think one point in my life, earlier life, I'm like, wait, I was having a conversation with somebody. I'm like, I don't know this, but I know it.
Mm.
Does it make sense? I was
Yes.
talking about things that I'm like, I've never learned it, but I just know it.
Yes.
You know, and I'm like, how? But yeah, I really never really digged to really find answers to all those things, but I just leave it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
But I can give you a little bit of an answer to your question.
Please.
The reason why you know things that you don't know is that once you know one thing in its entirety, right? You know everything because there are patterns in this universe that repeat itself over and over and over again. So when we look at, let's say, a tree, for example, you have to take the seed
Seed,
and you have to plant it in the ground. It stays in the earth, and then it grows, right? You have that's kind of potential energy that you put it into something, and then it grows and it nurtures. The same thing comes with an idea, right? The idea is the seed that you plant in the garden of your mind, which then grows and flourishes,
That's a punchline.
right? And everything that we conceive in this reality follows a similar pattern. And that's why when you understand certain patterns, so now you've probably analyzed certain things about anything in your life, right? And you understood that pattern. So you take that particular pattern and you apply it to something else that you're looking at. You may not realize because the two things seem very different, but you may not realize that on an energetic fundamental level, even though they're two different things, the same thing is happening in the other application. You see? And like I can go on talking forever,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna say this. One of the main things in this universe is masculine and feminine energy. Masculine and feminine energy are a pattern that creates everything that we see in our physical universe. And the reason why I say that, I gave you the example before of the seed,
Seed, yeah.
and the earth, right? You have to take the seed, which would be the masculine component, and plant it in the earth, which would be the feminine component, which is kind of like the womb, right? To nurture and to grow things. If you take, right now we're using a camera,
Yeah.
right? You take the plug from the camera itself, the masculine component would be the camera itself, that you then have to plug in to a power source. You put it in and then it draws energy from that power source for it to be able to work. And that pattern is throughout many different things. So masculine, when you understand the relationship between masculine and feminine energy, you can understand the relationship between many different things. And going back to earlier on, I spoke about the yin yang sign.
Yeah.
Later on, I realized that again is a depiction of masculine and feminine energy.
Right.
The dark side being the feminine energy and the light side being the masculine energy. But when you look at the original sign, right, you have the white circle is in the black side and the black circle is in the white side. It's also showing you that within the feminine there is the masculine and within the masculine there is the feminine. And one of the reasons why we have so many issues on the planet today is because we do not understand the relationship between masculine and feminine energy.
Let's talk about it. Roles are being switched.
But it goes beyond just roles are being switched. The thing is this, we are both men, right? We're having this conversation. But within each of us, right, we both have masculine and feminine energy. This realm that we live on functions with duality. We have a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere of the brain. We have the logical part and we have the creative part of the brain, right? So what happens is that the creative part, which I would equate to the kind of the dark side, the chaotic side, or the negative side, as people would say,
Call it, yeah.
that is the feminine part. The logical part is the masculine part. Now, within each individual, there's going to be a different balance of energy between the two. Us being males in this reality means that as we go through, we are going to do things more with a masculine tendency than a woman would. But each man is going to be different because they also have a feminine component as well within them. So depending on how I move and how you move may not be exactly the same because of the balance of my own inner masculine and feminine component. So that's men. Now the same thing goes for women as well, right? Women have their masculine and feminine component within them as well. And then them moving through this reality, they are obviously going to be more feminine in terms of the way that they relate to the world because that is their archetype, right? But what happens in today's world, now you were talking about the roles being shifted, is that mostly we've been conditioned into a hyper masculine state where men are being in some cases, because this is not all men, but the image, I would say more so the image of men is this hyper masculinity, alpha male, aggressive,
muscles,
this
angry,
exactly, all of that is the male image. And now women are being conditioned to emulate that image. So you have men trying to live up to that image, and women now trying to emulate and live up to that image as well. But the true image of masculinity is nowhere to be found at all. And the image of femininity is kind of looked down upon in a sense, that you're weak, or that you're useless, or that you don't have a place. So because of this, oftentimes men don't respect women in their femininity. Women don't necessarily always respect themselves in their femininity. And people are glorifying this sense of toxic, as they call it. This is the term toxic masculinity. But that's a whole other thing because they haven't come out with toxic femininity. If there's toxic masculinity, there also has to be toxic. But anyway,
because there's equal and opposite force.
Exactly. But the thing is, that is to push a certain agenda too. But at the end of the day, if we were understood who we are internally as our masculine component and our feminine component, and then apply that now, knowing that my archetype now is masculine, then I would be a balanced masculine figure. And the same thing for a woman. If she knew her masculine component and her feminine component, and her archetype being feminine, when we come together, we would know how to relate to each other. Because again, in terms of creation, creation always happens when the masculine and the feminine come together. And that now is, when you go to religion, that's the Holy Trinity. The mother and the father, which produce a child, which is the Holy Trinity, right? So it's important for us, again, to understand these patterns and to be able to understand how we fit into these patterns, so we can use these patterns and understand these energies, so that we can then better relate to everything, not just to each other, but to each other, yes, but also to everything around us. And when we look at nature, when we study, everything that's around us, it's giving us a clue as to how things function. It's and this is the essence that we don't get at. Now, you spoke about voodoo, right? This is what the essence of voodoo is. It's that connection to nature. It's understanding the energies. And this is the true essence, to me anyway, of what spirituality is.
Wow.
in general. It's really understanding fundamentally your connection to the world around you and how you relate to the world around you.
Wow.
And the reason why we have practices and we have rituals is to keep us in that mind space, to keep us in the space of making these connections and being aware of these connections and how to live with all of this on a day-to-day level, because that is the type of programming which we spoke about earlier that we really need to have, is how to interface, how to interact with what's around us.
Now, talking about programming, TikTok has been doing a lot of programming.
Yes.
With short form content, which is reducing the attention span of the human beings and
Yes.
the people in general, making them find conversation like this boring and too much to understand, and then checking it out without reasoning and researching to increase their self. What do you think the total agenda, the total goal of this is?
I think it's just ultimately is control.
Control.
It's control. Is to keep control of a certain people. There's a select few of individuals who some people will say that they fear that they're going to be annihilated if they're not in control of everything. Other people will just say that they're egomaniacs that are crazy. Other people will say that they are people that are influenced. You mentioned aliens at one point before that are influenced by other beings, and man, there's a whole spectrum of theories onto why all of this stuff is happening. But at the end of the day, I know for sure it has to do with control and being able to control certain groups of people and to get them to do certain things. And I saw a video that came out where somebody said that TikTok, for example, that the content that if you open TikTok and you're in the US, the content that you see on TikTok in the US is not the same content that you're seeing on TikTok in Japan. And so they're basically saying that the content in the US, in China, not in Japan, that the content in the US has less thought-provoking, it's not inspiring, it's more about just mundane things, whereas the content in China, you're seeing more educational things, you're seeing things that will inspire youth to again program them to want to do certain things, where the other one is not really.
It is very true, by the way. I have both apps, and if we have time, I'll probably just pull it up and you'd see it's totally different. You'd see someone dancing and doing those TikTok moves on the TikTok Ghana, and then the Chinese one, you'd probably be someone, chef, trying to teach you how to cook something. And I'm like, wow. But how do people elevate themselves to this level of thinking, though? If they are watching and they feel like, wow, I'm inspired by the knowledge coming out of you, because you might think it's normal, but it is something. How does one get to that level?
Well, the first thing is to start asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you see something that doesn't make sense to you, try to understand why you think it doesn't make sense, and research into it deeper. And from there, that's going to lead you to different things that will open up your consciousness. I remember quite a few years ago now, I was having a conversation. I was at a birthday party and we were sitting down and we were talking, and this person told me, basically, so we were having a kind of high level conversation to a certain degree, and we were talking about society in general and certain things, and it came up, and it's like, well, what if a lot of the things that you were told are lies?
Yes.
And the person said to me, well, I think I would just prefer to continue living the lie.
Really?
Because they don't want to take the time to unlearn all of the things that they learn. And the thing is that is one of the things that holds a lot of people back, right? Is you have to be continually curious. You're always a student of life,
right?
And you need to learn as much as you can, understand as much as you can. You're always learning, and when you're always learning, that means you're always growing. And when you're always growing, that means you can reach a higher potential, a higher place in your life. Like a lot of people think, because You go to school, even if you have your doctorate degree, you can be very intelligent in that particular field or that subject that you've studied, but you could be a complete idiot
Yeah.
in something else.
Yeah.
And you know, one thing that in the Caribbean that they would say is that knowledge isn't common sense. You know, there's a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge, but when it comes to just simple understanding of certain things, it's hard for them to grasp because they do not have the depth and the ability to step away from the knowledge and deduce things that way.
Wow, I like that. Now, for those watching who does not have sufficient IQ to process this kind of conversation, what advice do you have for somebody like that? Because I know people who live like normal life, and this conversation does not compute.
Well, the thing is that you have to know what's for you, and it may not necessarily be for everyone. But if you do feel that it is for you, just know that you are intelligent. And you mentioned the word IQ.
Yeah.
But IQ can be interpreted in many different ways. You know, I think it was maybe Einstein that said, if you try to judge a fish's ability to climb intelligence by its ability to climb a tree, then you know, like it will never be able to do that.
Right.
The thing is that you need to learn about yourself and understand who you are, understand how you learn, understand how you relate to the world around you, and you'll see that you'll just naturally be able to raise your intelligence level. One of the reasons why a lot of people feel that they are not able to understand certain things or grasp certain concepts or whatever the case may be is simply because they don't know how they learn. And we are not taught in school how to learn. We're usually taught how to memorize, how to repeat, how to just, again, take things at face value. So you need to understand, you know, who you are and how you learn, and to not be afraid to step outside, you know, of your box, of what you're in. You know, read books that are interesting to you. You know, watch documentaries, watch different things that pique your interest, so that you can get you know, more information as you go along. And it's anybody can, if you look at me and you think that I'm an intelligent person, anybody out there can be just as intelligent or surpass me in intelligence, just by you know, doing the work and taking themselves outside of the box, or you know, it's really that simple. It comes down to your core belief in yourself, and just knowing that anything that you put your mind to, you can achieve.
I like that. Now, before I let you go, the concept of deja vu.
Go ahead. You're speaking to the right person.
Because
for that.
you said you sometimes be able to tap into the future to be able to foresee things that are meant to happen. And then when they happen in real life, does it classify as a deja vu, or what is deja vu in general? I want to hear it from you.
Okay. So I'm going to share some experiences that happened to me.
Right.
My first tangible, conscious experience was when I was in high school. I had a girlfriend. We were talking on the phone, and I started to remember a dream that I had.
Okay.
And I started to tell her the dream, and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, because I thought the person that I was interacting in the dream was her. So then I was like, oh, wait a minute, it wasn't you, never mind. So I stopped telling her the dream. 2 weeks later, I was at my friend's house, and I was playing basketball, and my friend's girlfriend had happened to pass by that day, and she started playing basketball with us, and she passed the ball to me, and that was the dream that I was telling to my girlfriend at the time, and I realized that, hey, I just saw the future, and I'm in now this moment, and it was kind of like I was having a deja vu too, because I had seen this moment, and then from that particular moment on, I started to understand a little bit more what had been happening to me before. and then what happened to me afterwards. So I realized that for me, in my personal experience, that I was having dreams that I didn't necessarily remember. And then I would find myself in the scenario where it's like, hey, I've seen this before, and I'm living the dream now. And so that was one of the things that kind of put me on this quest for certain knowledge, because I realized that, hey, listen, there's more to this. Like, a lot of people talk about this and that, but now I'm actually having a personal experience that is showing me tangible proof that there's more to this that happens. Now, fast forward into my life, I have a younger brother, and we're really close. We've had particular experiences where one experience is he was telling me about a substitute teacher that he had at school. And as soon as he started to tell me, I could see the person.
Wow.
And so I started to explain this. I'm like, did she have glasses? He's like, yeah. I'm like, did she have blonde hair? Yeah. Was she wearing, let's say, a blue shirt? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, I could literally see the person.
Wow.
And then I had another experience again with my brother, where we were living at my parents' house. He went to go park the car, and I left him to go inside the house. And then he comes in and he's like, Dan, you never guess where I ended up parking. And I said, oh, you parked by the vet. And he's like, but how did you know? Because as soon as he said it, I saw the flash of the sign, the veterinarian sign, and it's almost as if I saw what he saw.
Wow.
And so that was another experience. And then I had one other particular experience again with my brother, where now that I'm aware of all of these things happening, and I'm now trying to see if I can control it or tap into it on a deeper level. So one day we're sitting down at the table and we're eating, and I start now to have a deja vu, but I'm now consciously aware of the deja vu, and it's still happening. So I kind of pause. I don't say anything to him in the moment, and I wait to see. So I know what his response is supposed to be.
Wow.
In
real time.
In real time, and he says to me, I don't remember what it was now, but he says to me exactly what it is that I thought he was going to say, and I'm just like, okay, this
Now what is going on?
this is different.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to share. This is the last thing I'm going to share about that specifically. Coming here to Ghana, in our interview that we spoke to before, I spoke about some of the stuff that we that was going on in Canada and whatnot, with regards to the pandemic and all of that, and some of the rules that they were applying. So one of the things that that came up, which was troubling me, just because I don't think that they should have had the right to do so, but this is what they were enforcing, was that you would not be able to travel if you do not have the vaccine passport.
Okay, yeah.
And in Canada, so you would not be able to leave. You would not be able to leave the country. So anyway, when my wife and I were talking about when we were going to leave, we were deciding, okay, when should we leave? When should we not leave? Like whatever. And she's like, okay, well, why don't we leave in November? Because she had a particular date in November that she was connected with, and she's like, oh, I'd like to leave around that date, or maybe even in January. And I'm like, no, we can't leave at that time, because anything past October, I see darkness. And later on, I came to find out that the reason why I was seeing that is because they were initiating that vaccine passport on October 30th.
Wow.
And if you didn't have that, you couldn't fly. And we actually left Canada on the 29th of October.
Wow. Just a day.
Just the day before.
Wow.
If we had decided to leave,
Stay in
it would have
second a day.
been a different
Story.
scenario.
Wow.
And yeah,
Wow. You're tapped in.
no, of course. And with the people that I've been meeting here, like I know for me that it's no coincidence. Like I could keep on going, but listen,
No, I love it. I love it.
Listen,
This is my conversation, by the way. He knows it. I would do this for days.
yo,
and
but listen. Okay, I'm gonna give you some examples of things that happened to me being here now in Ghana. I'm into numbers. I'm into numerology and understanding the science of numbers and that type of thing. One day, I walk into I went to get a car, a Bolt,
Okay.
and I look at the guy's name, and the guy's name is Prosper Smart.
Prosper Smart.
I'm like, that's a powerful name,
Yeah.
Prosper Smart. I look at his license plate number. His license plate number adds up to 9. Now, as a person, anybody that's into numerology and into numbers and knows that 9 is a very powerful number because 9 is the number of completion.
Right. And I
When-
still have the spiral. In other words.
Yes, it does. And I got into his car. I don't remember the exact numbers, but let's say the time was 7:02, which is 7 plus 2 is 9. I looked at my phone. Now his time was wrong on his thing. I looked at my phone, and the time, let's say, was 6:30, so that added up to 9. I looked at the radio station that he was on
At the same time.
at the same time,
simultaneously.
simultaneously, and the numbers that were on the radio station also added up to 9.
Wow.
And his name is Prosper Smart. And I was like, no, this is definitely a sign that I'm in the right place
Right.
at the right time, right? So a lot of people might dismiss that one,
Yeah.
right? Just because they're like, oh,
Yeah,
this could be
happens.
whatever, it happens. My name, my full name is Dan Anderson Kelman. On the main road here, one day I was driving just there, and I look out the window and I see Dan Kelma. So it's almost Dan Kelman. It's just missing the N at the end to make it Dan Kelman. Dan Kelma Enterprises. And I'm just like, Dan Kelma Enterprises. I'm like, this is almost my name now on a billboard, on a business.
Yeah.
So again, for me, that was a sign that I'm on the right path. I'm on the right journey. And with the amazing people that I've met here, there's certain people that I've met here on this path and on this journey, particularly here in Ghana, just here a little bit over a year now, that it feels like I've known them forever.
A long time. Yeah.
A long time, like we were longtime friends. There's a particular couple, and you actually interviewed the brother Michael.
Oh, really? Oh yeah.
Michael, I think before we thought we arrived on the same day, but I believe he arrived here on the 29th of October. But we arrived almost at exactly the same time, and we've become great friends.
Right.
We met at an event, and we've become great friends. And I strongly believe that a lot of us are being pulled together because we have greater work to do together.
Sure.
So like there's a lot of little things, a lot of little coincidences, so-called coincidences